Hey, I'm Meggie Kay. So in this video, I'm gonna do a little bit of a tips, let you know some things that I noticed while traveling around Uzbekistan. And yeah, one thing first off that I cannot speak on is like transportation, because I spent most of my time in Uzbekistan with G Adventures and they kind of covered, you know, organizing all of the transportation and stuff like that. But it doesn't seem that difficult if you are going to be traveling the country by yourself. It seems like if you want to go to, like, you'll probably come into Tashkent, and like Samarkand and Bukhara sound, from what I heard around, that they seem fairly well connected by train. But really, I can't actually say anything on that. I did, when I went out to the mountains, I did rent a car for the day, and yeah, that was about $75. So if you have someone you can share, that kind of like renting a driver in a car for a day kind of thing, it's fairly affordable, I think. But yeah, I'm not going to be speaking on that. These are other things around Uzbekistan that I noticed while I was traveling there for 12 days? About 12 days. So, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing I want to mention about things in Uzbekistan is food. Food in Uzbekistan is incredibly cheap and huge. I greatly, oh my god, greatly, unbelievably overestimated how much I needed for food. My budget was like up here when really it needed to be down here. I spent like maybe half of what I was expecting to pay for food. So it is very, very cheap and you get a lot. The portions were huge. There were times when I was like struggling to finish things and I found myself skipping meals, or like if I like ate lunch, I would only have like a little appetizer for dinner, or like the other way around where I have like something just to snack on at lunchtime and then I'll have something like proper for dinner, or I just like, you know, skip it completely and just go drink some tea somewhere. So yeah, I would never worry about going hungry in Uzbekistan, because like you can go to some random cafe and we can get like an appetizer, like some kind of salad, and then you can get like a main course plus wine for under $10. So really it is incredibly cheap and you get a lot of food, and the food is delicious, by the way. I loved the food in Uzbekistan. It was so good. Had a lot of like cucumber and tomato salads, skewered meat, the bread, oh my god, the bread was so good. Like that's like my favorite kind of bread, that flat bread. Oh, delicious. Just smelling it at the markets, I'm like, oh my god. Food is delicious and cheap and you get huge portions, and I wasn't expecting that. Like I said, I had way more money left over, which I mean I'm not complaining about, but I had way too much money left over by the end of it because I did not spend as much money on food as I was planning on. The second thing you need to know if you are going to travel to Uzbekistan is that it is hot, like hot. It is really hot. So I wasn't even there in summer, I was there in springtime. It was the end of April, early May when I was in Uzbekistan, and it was already like 35 degrees plus some days. Yeah, hot. And I mean, logically that would make sense because Uzbekistan is a desert. But Uzbekistan also gets lumped into like Central Asia in my head. And I mean, it is Central Asia, but like most of Central Asia is like mountains and it's very, very cold in winter, and kind of, I feel like it'd be more mild in summer in like Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan, or you know, but no, it's Uzbekistan. It's its own place. Don't lump it into the rest of Central Asia. It is a desert and it acts like a desert in the fact that it is really, really hot. So yeah, I was hearing like stories from the local guides and stuff like that, that like in summer it gets like 40 plus, and I'm just like, what? And it's not like, you know, other like tropical countries, because it's not, it's a desert. It is dry and it is hot. My tour guide was mentioning how like sometimes people would have to like be very careful about like making sure you drink water and staying out of the sun, and like the scarves you will see around there, very useful. Cover your head, be safe. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think I would recommend going in springtime because like I said, it was hot even in springtime. But like if you are going in summer or something like that, just like be careful. Drink lots of water, stay in the shade, don't go out in the middle of the day, and just like be careful if you're going to travel in summer because it is hot. So the next point is about language. Obviously the language in Uzbekistan is Uzbek, and if you don't know Uzbek, then Russian is helpful. And if you are like me and you don't know Uzbek or Russian, it's a little bit more difficult. English is still fairly minimal around the country. I found like the younger generations, like people in their 20s, they know a little bit of English, but some like the older ladies at the market, they can speak a little bit of Russian and Uzbek, and that's kind of it. It's like the international language for them would be Russian, and brushing up. Trying to learn a little bit of Uzbek is what you should do, like learn a couple words, try and do a little bit. But Russian is much more useful than English in Uzbekistan, so that's something to keep in mind if you want to travel Uzbekistan. Brush up on Uzbek or Russian. Those are the two useful languages currently that I noticed. I didn't really notice a lot of other languages. There was actually an area of Tashkent I went into, there was a lot of Korean, but I think it was just like that area of Tashkent. But yeah, throughout the country, Uzbek and Russian are what you would want to brush up on before going to Uzbekistan. And the last point that I want to mention is about the airport. So I feel like you're gonna fly into Uzbekistan unless you're doing like all of Central Asia and you're gonna travel around by land, and Tashkent just might not be the airport you choose. But yes, if you are flying in and out of Uzbekistan, the airport is a little chaotic, and it's just something to know. So the airport, when you arrive, there is a gate before you even get into the airport where they will check your passport and ask you what airline you're flying with, and that kind of thing, before you're even in the building. So make sure you have that stuff ready and it's not like buried at the bottom of your bag or something. So you go through that security check and you can get into the building, but before you get into the building, they will scan your luggage. So you're not even in the building and you're going through 2 checks. So one to check your passport and another one to check your bag. And then once you're in and you like checked into your flight and you get your boarding pass and your luggage is gone, whatever, they're going to check your passport and boarding pass and stamp it like 2 or 3 times. There's like over here, and they'll stamp it and they'll give it back to you, and they're like, go through here, and somebody else will check it, and like immigration will stamp it and something else, and then another one, and like security. Like there's so many different like little checkpoints, and they'll just like go over here, go over there, go over here. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. And then I finally got to like the security where they're like checking my carry-on, and I got really confused because he just kind of like stared at me and he's like, your shoes. I'm like, what? Shoes? I'm like, it's like, take off your shoes. I'm like, oh, you do that here? Like, I haven't been to an airport that makes you take off your shoes. I feel like since like early 2000s, I feel like that's the thing that stopped. Nobody cares, like, unless you're wearing boots and heels or something like that, but like I'm in like little like athletic shoes, like my little Nikes. That's what I wear at airports. They don't make you take off like running shoes typically, unless I don't know if there's other airports around the world that still check and like make you take off your shoes. But yeah, I haven't had that happen to me since I was a teenager, so I don't know why they still do that. But yeah, it's a process. It's chaotic. You should have some time if you are going to the airport. The airport itself is actually fairly small, so like if you are running late, it's pretty easy to find your gate and get to it real quick, but there is a process and a lot of checks to get through into the airport, and it's something to just, I don't know, be aware of, I guess. Right, so those are like my 5 little like tips, things I noticed, things you might want to be aware of if you want to travel to Uzbekistan. I actually really enjoyed Uzbekistan. I thought it was a fantastic country. I don't think it's my favorite country. I think Mongolia is still #1 for my favorite country ever, but Uzbekistan was fantastic. I'm so glad I got a chance to go there, and yeah, go to Uzbekistan. Do it. I feel like if you found this video, you're probably already thinking about going to Uzbekistan. Honestly, it was a great country. The people there were lovely. Like I said, food is delicious. It was affordable, and there's so much history, and just like the architecture is beautiful. It's a great country. I very much enjoyed my trip to Uzbekistan. So yeah, I guess this video is closing off that Uzbekistan chapter. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because I will have more videos coming out very soon. Bye.